trust. It's at the centre of this election campaign, perhaps more so than usual.
It's a choice between an economic recovery that is leading the world and a Labor opposition that would weaken it.
You deserve a leader who holds the hose and a government that stands up for you.
Yet at this election, trust in the major parties has arguably never been lower.
We've been told a lot of things over the last 2 years and not a lot of it's been fulfilled.
I mean, it comes back to trust, right?
Yeah, you don't trust any of them.
Definitely resonates, yeah.
They could promise you the world, but it's when they deliver, and that's what we need.
I'm in the seat of Latrobe, one of the hotspots of the population boom. It's got the same problems as any Australian growth area. Heavily mortgaged homeowners and infrastructure that's struggling to keep up. It's a Liberal seat, but it's marginal. The third-party vote has been around 20% and could go even higher this time. This is Parakshit Jolly's restaurant in what he says is a dying shopping strip. Rebecca Bishop runs a construction company. Lucy Anders is a teacher with a young family who recently bought their first home here. Why do you think the major parties have been losing support from residents who live here in Latrobe?
They're all like actors.
Yeah.
It all feels like they're all on a stage.
Oh, exactly. There is like a pantomime kind of feel to it, and that's not a real person representing real people.
The way they speak to each other is deplorable.
awful.
I've watched the live parliamentary feed and I've never seen anything like it. You wouldn't talk
If your
to
kids
anyone.
were to talk to each other like that, you can say, behave yourself.
Politics doesn't get much trickier than here in the Hunter region. It's where so many of the country's competing interests collide. Mining, agriculture, job security, housing. The distinct fault lines have proved tough for major parties to straddle at a local, then national level. And it's left the door open for political outsiders to connect with voters.
What sort of life is it?
Hi. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Thanks for coming.
Pleasure.
Peter Dunn, you're a real estate agent. Anita White, you run a disability support service. And Steve Fordham, you're a Kamilaroi man who runs a local business with mining contracts. Now, coal is critical to this region, but we all know a change is coming at some point. Do you have faith that there is a plan?
No, actually, they all talk about the destination, but no one's got the plan to get there, the roadmap. No, it's a very guarded secret if it is.
If they do have one, I don't think we've ever seen it. We need a transition from coal, and I think we need to look at a diversification from coal.
And the problem with the transition that they say, it doesn't just affect coal miners, it affects industries like us. You know, people in disability who are working for our mining contracts. And I think until we see that plan, we won't have confidence in any government.
Trust has been deteriorating over the past 10 years. A survey done after the last election shows only 25% of people believe a government can be trusted, the lowest recorded. It peaked at 2 elections when the government changed. Since the 2007 election, votes for major parties in lower house seats have declined. Are things changing and people are more open to looking outside the major parties?
Definitely now, actually, yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's been the way for probably the last few years here. I think people are much more flexible to leave parties, whereas before there wasn't much thought put into it, say 20 years ago, you're either one or the other.
For years we've been a safe seat for the Nationals in the state, and for the federal we've been for Labor, and I think people are looking for something different.
How much do you think trust plays into it?
I think it's got to be everything. Any leader that we're sending, we need to not send a sheep, we need to send a lion and stuff the party line. People don't want to see the party line anymore. We want to see people cross the floor if it's what's best for the area.
I want to see more of the crossing of the floor. I want to see people actually voting for policies that they believe in. I'd like to see more of people, the ministers, voting based on policy, not based on party. I think that's the start of a great change.
Do you think more minor parties or independents would make the political system better?
It does, because there's more accountability.
I would favour an independent candidate because for me it seems like they have agency. They have the freedom to respond to each issue based on their values. My biggest concern is to what extent if in voting for a smaller party is it a wasted vote, because they will never form a majority government.
Have you decided who you're going to vote for, and if so, how did you reach the decision?
I wouldn't even know who the candidates are.
I don't
as you were saying before.
Nobody has come here. We don't even know who's standing for elections.
Come out into the community and get to know your people, get to know your businesses, because we are the backbone. Like, the businesses are the backbone.
That's who they're representing.
Exactly.
And these are engaged voters. Parakshith Jolly recently quit the Labor Party. Steve Fordham has just joined the Nationals, he says, to help open doors to get things done in business. Since the pandemic, Rebecca Bishop has been trying to lobby politicians about a lack of mental health support.
I got pushed from person to person to person. Listen, respond, take the time. Everyone that I've contacted, there's generally an automated response.
Do you still think people trust the system?
I would say no.
And why do you think that is?
I think because it's false promises that we've had in the past and no action.
And Peter, do you personally still have trust?
Well, I do live in hope, actually. I think it wouldn't be hard to change. They just got to back up what they say, and that's a judge of any person. Do you do what you say you'll do? It's a great opportunity right now for someone to show a bit of leadership.
What can they do to win back your trust?
It all comes back to the way that they communicate and a responsibility to communicate in a variety of media. If you could just respond to a story on Instagram, that would be a lot more accessible than having to write a letter for someone from my generation or younger.
I'm eternally optimistic. I never give up. And Australia it's an incredible country. You need people in power and people who have the ability to change people's lives to actually do that.